Okay, cool. So today we're gonna focus on like well-being of people that write code. And I mean, since it's a Scala conference, we're gonna try to focus more on people that write Scala. So it won't be about Scala technical. I'm sorry. It will just be like in this time, when we all coming back to work and companies maybe force you to come back to the office, and everybody it comes through their mind like, should I stay? Should I go? Should I find a new job? Like the first question I want to ask you, and so we're gonna experiment with the Zoom surveys. How are you feeling today? Is it working?
Sorry, that's me. Let me just get that up and running. Unless, Leo, did you want to use, it might be a bit easier, a bit quicker for you do you want to use the chat function?
Sure, we can use the chat. So how are you today? How are you feeling? I see tired, I feel great. Okay, good. In the option that originally it was like a survey with like some multiple question answers. So I suggested maybe tired or happy or stressed or excited or hopeful, bored, sad, angry, afraid. Okay, tired but motivated. That's good. I heard a lot of people like feeling maybe a burnout during the pandemic when they work more than the usual time. Using Rust, so I'm okay. Cool. Okay. So this talk might also be useful to manager. Oh, angry. Well, hopefully, maybe we'll go through that. So today we're gonna talk about like the zone. Now, how I'm sure you all experienced it when you like start writing code and you like focus intensely. And I'd like this talk to be interactive. So if I pause, it's because I'm reading the chat, and feel free to interact. Another question: does anybody play video games? No answers. At least a no. Okay, sometime. I see a few. Okay. So today I want to see like how we can leverage the learnings that the video game industry have built using player engagement, and how that can be translated to the employee engagement as well. So I am Leo Benkel. I am the founder of Pure Lambda. I am based in Luxembourg. And with Pure Lambda, I helped entrepreneurs set up the right coding practices, management processes, and be innovative, leveraging my 10 years of Silicon Valley experience. And you might have heard of my name before because I am still involved in the Scala community. For instance, I manage the Scala learning community with more than 300 people now. I own and wrote the classes on tourofscala.com, where we have exercise to have like practical learning rather than just lectures. I always try to be interactive. For me, that's my way of learning, and so I'm trying to help other people with those favorite style of learning. And I also maintain several open source library, one of them being zpark.io, which is a merge of ZIO and Spark, kind of like a boilerplate to be able to use both together. So today we're going to talk about the flow state. When you start working on something and you're passionate about it, let's say it's like 8 p.m., you dive in and you blink, it's like 2 a.m. Anybody have experienced that before? And I mean, it doesn't have to start at 8 a.m., you can start after lunch. yeah, okay, I see some people have experienced that before. So that's usually within engineer, we call that the zone. It's like I'm in the zone, and when someone asks you questions at break and you have to go back in the zone. In the psychological field, it's called the flow state. And that was quoted by this person. If anybody is from Hungary and knows how to pronounce his name, let me know. Otherwise, I won't attend. So he describes the flow state in his book named Flow, the Psychology of Optimal Experience. And so the quote is, the state in which people are so involved in an activity that nothing else seems to matter, the experience itself is so enjoyable that people will do it even at great cost for the sheer sake of doing it. And so that's very true, like in video games. Oh, I see some poll. Oh, but we have...
I got it, sorry. I got it working for the next couple of questions. Okay. So I'll add to it as we go along.
Cool. So in this state, your mind is overperforming. Time seems to slow down. You are more focused and you can accomplish more. You are like immune to minor distraction. Like sometimes even like feeling hungry or like feeling tired, you don't even are concerned about your own body. So I'm going to use like flow state and zone pretty much like back and forth. They're both synonyms. One is more like in the video game engineering side of things, and the other one is more like the psychological term, but they're both equivalent. I like to think of the slow state like a mental time and the zone as like a mental space, but I don't know, it's just like my own thing. If you've seen the movie So from Pixar, it's one of the core aspects of the movie, like being in the zone. So there is this video here. I'm gonna share the slide after, so you can click on the link. So how do you get in the zone? Like if someone have experienced it before, you know that you have to be like in specific condition. And for engineers, it happened a lot of time. I mean, in my experience and people I talk to, like when you have a project that you're really passionate about, you're gonna start writing code and then everything disappears and you're like just writing code until like 3 a.m. But I want to kind of like dive down into how the video game industry has kind of like ironed that out and how we can use that in our day-to-day life. So the zone is kind of like this space between frustration and boring. It's about the difficulty of the task you try to accomplish. If it's too easy, you're going to be bored. And if it's too hard, you're going to be frustrated. And it's very true, like in video games, if you start a game, it's fun at first, you have the tutorial phase. It's like, okay, I'm learning new things. And then it's like, boom, you're like this big boss and you're like, okay, I'm keep dying. I don't know what's going on. So that's kind of like the frustration zone, and then you stop playing. And in the other way, it's like maybe the difficulty doesn't ramp up fast enough and it gets boring, and then you're like, okay, whatever, it's boring, I'm done. So that's a very well-known concept in the video game industry. To keep player engaged is to capture the player's attention for hours without effort. And it's achieved by carefully aligning the difficulty of the game with the player's skills. So you want to like align both. And in the workplace, we can translate that into assigning the right task to the right engineer based on their skills, based on their knowledge. You want to be able to alternate between challenging tasks that might trigger your curiosity and tasks that might be easier just to relax, and kind of like alternate between these two so you can like enjoy your learning. It's like it's like you want to find the right sweet spot, like find the zone. So when I talked about frustration, there's a difference between difficulty, challenging, and frustration. It's like this blurry boundary. There's like major differences between the two, and it comes down to a few key elements. And I'm sure it happened to you, like if you play video games, you've stopped playing a video game because it was too frustrating. It happened to everyone. So the main key aspect is about the feedback you're receiving when you fail. So if you fail and you don't know why, there's like no feedback coming to you, you're going to feel frustration. So imagine again, like you're playing a game and you keep failing unexpectedly. If you don't see what killed you, or you don't know why your attack didn't work, or the game designer works hard to make light sound signal to inform the player into the effect of their action. So that's when the game is successful. If you don't see those signals, that's when the game fails and becomes frustrating. In most crafting game, for instance, when you harvest a tree, you with the right tool, you have like the wood sound. With the wrong tool, you have like this clink sound, and like it's not the right tool. It's kind of similar at work. When you have a bug or you struggle to finish a task, like, or if you have like negative feedback, you don't want to like wait the yearly review to know that you didn't perform as expected. You want like quick feedback. You want clear feedback so that you can try again and improve. And that's when it becomes challenging instead of being frustrating. And it comes down to learning. So we were talking about the speed of feedback. Oh, some questions. Cool. Awesome.
Sorry, I'm just adding them as I go along so I don't miss anything.
No, it's awesome. It's awesome. I hope it keeps people engaged. Cool. So another aspect is the speed at which it's possible to retry after failure. It's like, have you ever played a game where you have to sit through like a 5-minute long video before retrying to beat the boss? It's like, you fail, and then by the time you go through the video, you don't even remember where you failed. And that breaks this cycle, this engagement cycle. Similarly, at work, you want to be able to retry in a quick loop. Like, how long will it take between the time you change a piece of code and be able to see that this code work? Is it like instant, you run a unit test, or is it like hours? You need to like compile, send the code to the cluster, wait for the cluster to fail after 4 hours, and then change one more line of code. I've went through that. It's the most frustrating things ever, to wait for the pipeline to complete, fail it after 3 hours, and you're like, oh my God, why? It's like you forgot something and then you have to try again. And with Scala, we're pretty lucky because the compiler catch a lot of the bugs. So we don't have to do, yeah, wait for IntelliJ to index. It's absolutely. And so when you're at work, try to find out if maybe your frustration comes from this retry loop. And is it worth investing into making this retry loop faster? Maybe that will make your work more engaging and that will stop breaking your zone. The other aspect, like I said, is about learning. There is a saying, it's like, you don't fail, you either succeed or you learn. And so the worst situation to be in is that something failed and you have no idea why. And it's the most frustrating thing, like those unicorn bugs, something failed, you have no idea why, and you keep searching for hours trying to dig, and then you're like, oh my God, that was this like first thing I looked at, but I missed it. It's about this like learning. You want the challenge to bring something, bring new information, learning so you can grow and learn. And it's like very true in video games too. Like the best example, like game like Portal, where every time there is a new feature, a new skill, it's bring to your attention in like a challenging way. You learn it and then you can reuse it. As a manager, that translate, like if you're a manager and you have your team, is to give feedback often. And as an engineer, it's to seek advice from your peer leadership so that you can progress and not get stuck. Like when you get stuck, ask for help so that you can move forward and don't break your flow. Um, it's also like another aspect of being happy at work. It's like if you feel static without any like new challenges or new learning opportunity, it becomes really soul crushing. So one of the questions that I think I have in the survey is like, how often do you have learning opportunities at your current job? Is it every week? Maybe you have a lunch and learn. Is it every month? Maybe you have like credits to go through a class. Is it like every quarter? Maybe you go to a conference. Is it like once a year, or like is it like never? And usually the opportunity to learn is correlated to your happiness at work. The other thing is like about fairness. You want the challenges to be failing fairly. Like you don't want the rule to change. For instance, you don't want to be assigned a project and after you're almost done, it's like, oh, never mind, the project is trashed. And you're like, oh my God, what? I spent like 2 weeks on it. If you think, pragmatically, it's like you've been paid for your 2 weeks. What does it matter? But it's in your, ego and esteem and recognition. Like you don't want to throw away work that you spend on. And so it's all about like like for a video game, for instance, like it's not me, it's the controller's fault. You want to know that the failure comes from you, not coming from the game or the situation. It all comes down to like recognition. You want to own the mistake, own the success. You don't want everything to kind of like be random. It's like, oh yeah, it worked, but I have no idea why. It's not satisfying. And so in the workplace, that translates into wanting to have like clear objective. You don't want to spend a week on a task and be canceled, or you don't want to be like kind of aimlessly trying to find stuff to do. Like having clear, it's like, having a quest. You want like a quest that exactly like tell you what's the objectives and what are the criteria for success. You don't want a delayed recognition. Like for instance, sometimes it happens where you have this project and you need to reach those numbers to have this task marked completed, but the evaluation of the task is not in your hands. So you're done with code and then a week later, someone tells you, oh yeah, it worked. And it's like this delayed gratification is not as good as if you like complete the task, pass the test and like, yes, I'm done. So trying to design the task in your like workflow so that you can control the success criteria makes your your life at work a lot easier. A question that I could ask is like, do you feel recognized enough by your work, by your peer, for your work by your peers and management? It's always really hard for a company to recognize enough the engineers and all of the engineers. Usually I've seen companies where, you know, only the manager is recognized and they just like, thanks to the team, and nobody's like named. And I think naming someone, telling them, I recognize that you did this one thing that contributed to the success of the project is really important. So do you all feel recognized enough at work? I don't see a lot of answers in the chat. Sometime. Oh, that's good. That's a good start. Okay, so now that we know how to get into the zone, how do we stay in the zone? Like, how do you keep the flow going? So let's remind all of us that it takes a very long time to get in the zone. Some research interviewing engineers showed that it can take up to 25 minutes to get back into flow and be productive. And so that's really come down to distraction. Like during the COVID, for instance, there were like the two camps, like people that really enjoy working at home and the people that didn't. And most of the time when you dived into it, it comes down to like people that have a space free of distraction to work for, they prefer this environment. It might be work, it might be home, depending on everyone's situation. But all of the overall, it was about being in an environment that was free of distraction. And you don't need that many meetings. Like during the pandemic, I've seen companies having meetings like from 8 in the morning all the way to 6 in the evening. And for managers, you know, please try to like combine those meetings either in the morning. Try to not have like 20-minute gap in between each, because that's, you can't do anything in 20 minutes. Like you can't go in the zone, you can't start anything, you're just gonna answer emails and you're gonna waste the entire day. So it's really important for managers and even for all of us engineers, like trying to organize our time, block afternoon, block lunch, try to combine your meetings as like squeezed as possible, so that you have like as much consecutive free time, so that you can push your distraction in one moment in the week or in the day. And try to look if like each of those meetings, do you need to be in them, or is it a waste of time? Like can it be an email? Can it be like a Google Doc? Like do you need to interact? I mean, that will be a big conversation, but we can start like talking about the meeting and how useful they are is a big topic, and I don't want to spend too much time on it. But looking into meetings and having a clear goal is like, what is the goal of this meeting? What do we achieve by the end of this meeting? Is this meeting required to achieve this task? And does everyone invited is required to achieve this task? And doing this as exercise will free a lot of time. I've done that with several companies in the past, and engineers usually feel a lot happier with less meeting, and you know the productivity is increased. So one question that I have is, how many meetings per day do you have on average? Is it like just one in the morning, maybe a stand-up, or is it like 2, 3 because you need to coordinate, or is it like, you know, like more than 6 where it's like just all day long? Two, three, cool. And Pedro, your 2, 3 meetings, are they like sprinkled around the day, or are they like combined in the morning? Tuesday and Thursday for 2 hours. That's good. I mean, you have a lot of time to focus. That's good. Nice. Okay. So let's go back to like learning opportunities. That's kind of like the loop that is used in the video game industry. And I think we can use that in the engineering space as well. So in video games, the progression often looks like, oh, nice, we see some results. Often looks like with the player to stay in the to keep the player engaged in the game, you want to like challenge the player. So first you encounter a new challenge never seen before. For instance, in Portal, they do it brilliantly, you know, introducing new things at a time. And then you learn these skills that allow you to solve this challenge, so you can now solve it. And then you present a harder version of the challenge so that you can master the skills. And then now this challenge is part of your collection of skills so that you can move forward in the game. In the workplace, I feel like it's essential for you to be happy to have those learning opportunities, and some company do, where you would have like learning or classes or opportunity to acquire new skills. But usually employers stop there. They're like, okay, I gave you the learning opportunity, have fun and learn some useless stuff I don't care about. But to be happy at work, I believe that your manager or your leadership team needs to value what you've learned. It's like, did you learn a new skills related to database? If yes, then I want you to give you tasks that use those new skills. And by doing that, you will be able to consolidate this learning and feel the validation of your peers. It's like, yes, I mastered those skills. I decided to learn them. I now master those skills, and I now show that I was able to use them at work. And having this loop where you learn, present a new challenge, learn the answer to this challenge, consolidate your learning, it's an essential loop in the video game industry, and I think it is critical at work as well. And if your manager is not able to do that, don't block yourself. Don't be demoralized. You can do it for yourself. Just learn a new skill and then contribute to an open source project, or like start something on your free time. But don't stop at just like learning the class. Continue and use those skills. You'll feel a lot more rewarded and like fulfilled by doing that. Try that. So, how do you do the zone as a team? Because I mean, you all work like in a teams, right? So, has anybody played MMORPG maybe when you were younger, like World of Warcraft, this type of game? I was a big player.
Leo, the poll is now live, so all the rest of the questions are on there, so you can go back to using the poll if you want, by the way.
Oh, okay, cool.
You know,
I'll have to figure out how to see the results. Oh, yeah, you go here.
Yeah, finally I got it sorted, so you can use it now.
Nice, nice. I don't see results. I see the questions, but I don't see the results. It says I can't vote. Okay.
Oh,
I mean, it makes sense I can't vote because I'm a panelist, but I don't know how to see the results.
Well, I can give you the results. So
oh, you have to close to see the results. You can't see the results.
Yeah,
live?
I think so. To the
okay.
question.
Well, we can wait then.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah. Let's wait. So at the end, we can review all the answers. Okay, cool. So nobody is answering if they've played World of Warcraft before. I'm disappointed. But so in those type of play, which in those type of games that are like heavily multiplayer and directed to groups of people, you can stay in the zone together with friends. Like you start like a LAN games, you know, like, I don't know, I was doing that when I was a teenager, you know, you go with your friends. When you didn't have like Wi-Fi, you go with your router, with your Ethernet cables, and you like set up like 15 computers in one room, and it's like so hot because there's like obviously no windows and all the blinders are closed because you don't want reflection on your screen. And then you play all day, you know, you have no idea what time it is. And everybody is like in the group. And so usually in video games, that's kind of like the Trinity. It's like the Holy Trinity in video games, like the defense, the attack, and the support. And so what I want to go by with that is that what's important is that everybody has a clear role to play in the team. And that helps staying in the zone as a team, because if someone get bored, I'm sure if you've all played a board game, sometimes you organize this big board game with people, you have like a group of 5 or 6 friends, they all come over, and one person is not into it. And that breaks the zone for everybody. And then it's like keep pulling, like the person drink too much and they're not in the vibe anymore. And so at work, it's the same thing. You want to give everyone a clear role into what their role is in this project, what will be their contribution, and how do they participate. If someone gets bored, they will pull everyone out of the flow. As a team as well, everybody needs a clear goal. For instance, in video game, it's like vanquishing this, you know, big monster, complete a quest. So you need like to coordinate to complete a project as a team, and everybody focus on one clear goal. And we can see that being applied, for instance, at Google, you know, with the OKR KPI strategy, and more companies are using that at work nowadays, where here's a clear goal you have to achieve, you know, you have this number you need to move, and everybody work together to achieve it. And you, because you have this goal, reaching this validation, you know, will create this feeling of fulfillment for everyone. And everybody, because they had a clear goal, a clear role in the achievement at the beginning, they will all feel this gratification together. And so that's kind of like going back to, you know, what was true for individual, meaning you want gratification and validation that is easy to achieve and that are easy to validate. I mean, because imagine like a game where you will complete a level and then a day later you receive an email and you're like, hey, congratulations, you finished the game. You'll be like, what? I don't even remember what it was about. So at work, it's the same thing. Like you want clear validation, clear goal, clear role, so that everybody knows what they are doing and what their place is. And that will help with recognition, because then you'll be like, this person have done amazing doing these things. That was their job. And, you know, it's like, it's awesome. So just to summarize, you know, you want everyone busy with a clear role. You want everyone to have a task assigned to them according to their skill. And you want everyone to learn and be challenged, working, you know, together. So just to ask everybody, like, does your current project make you feel motivated and excited? Is it a great team dynamic? Like, how do you feel about your current project? Come on, people. Anyone in the chat? People are not very talkative today. We are, how many people are we? 35 and
there we
nobody,
go.
it's challenging. Okay, cool. So is it like a good challenge or is it a frustration? Here you go, Pedro. It's a frustration challenge, frustration problem. You change your mind to frustration. Is it frustrating for anything we said so far? Is it frustrating because of the speed of iteration? Is it, okay, too many technologies to learn, so it feels too complicated all at once? Oh, you're not interested in it. Okay. So is it not interesting because it's boring, or is it because it's applied to a field you don't care about? Challenging, loving it. Okay, good. That's good. Oh, it's an area you don't care about. That's tough. Can you maybe find some challenging technology challenges inside of the project? Like find, you know, what is interesting, like on the technology side, not the area it's applied to. Yeah, the steep learning curve. But you know, it's like what we were talking about earlier. If it's too steep, then it's frustrating. So you want to like introduce new elements step by step. Cool. Well, thank you everyone for participating. Okay, so now we're gonna dive into like the bad side of the flow state. So your brain can't be hyper focused 24/7. I mean, you can't learn all the time. You can't challenge yourself every day. You're not like a computers. You know, we work with computers. We are not computers ourselves. So you need moment to rest. Like otherwise, you're gonna burn out. And so the burnout has been very like kind of like the star of the show during the pandemic. So many people have like overdrive during this time because they were overwhelmed by the distraction at home. They had like they didn't have boundaries between work and private life, and so you work yourself too much. And in video games, that's called this dimension about like rhythm. It's called the pacing. So it's like, how do you alternate, you know, a moment of intense stress, like for instance, you know, big monsters, and then after that, usually you have like a easy task, like you're gonna pick flowers, or you have like a videos, you know, just so you can relax before diving into another stressful situation. And at work, sometimes we forget that maybe there's like crazy deadlines, and you know they tell you it's just once, you know, and then the leadership team is like keep pushing. It's like, why don't we do that another deadline? Why don't we do another deadline? And you're like, okay, I can't anymore. Like you have to work too much. You have too many tasks in parallel. You keep jumping context, and that's what trigger burnout. Just to go back to what is a burnout, It's been, so this name is a bit easier. I'm going to try it. Herbert Frodenberger, I think. So that was the person that quote the name Burnout, and it's from the book called Burnout, The High Cost of High Achievement. So the quote is a state of mental and physical exhaustion caused by one's professional life. And burnout is a real thing, like it happens to all of us in some different degrees. And it has various levels of intensity. It doesn't always mean hospitalization, being in bed for months, but it does. Like some people get very, very deep into a burnout before realizing that something is wrong. And so I would recommend to really be aware of yourself, of your moral, of your like mental health and physical health. Like how long, how many hours you work per day? Do you have time to rest? Do you alternate between complex tasks and easy tasks? So just as a curiosity, and you don't have to answer if you don't feel comfortable doing so, but have anybody experienced burnout? Do you feel like you are overworked even today or in the past? I personally have during the pandemic. I felt like it was a lot. Like for a few weeks, I was working from like 9 a.m. to 2 a.m. And then I was like, what am I doing? Like, okay, I need to stop. And if I can't make the deadline, it's because the manager gave me too much work. You need to like push back and say no. And so if anyone has felt burnout in the past, I'm happy you're feeling better now. And if you're feeling it today, don't hesitate to reach to friends, family, coworkers, just because it is not a normal situation. It is not normal to feel burnout at work. You need to feel happy and in a happy place. Uh, you feel well a lot. So exhaustion and burnout are a bit different. Maybe you're learning and you feel tired at night, but then you have a good rest and you feel better. Be careful if this exhaustion get too long, like for months or weeks, it can become burnout, and it's not a good thing. So if anyone want to reach out to me, if you want to talk about it, don't hesitate to like send me an email or message me on LinkedIn, and we can look at to like maybe like things to do. Like, do you need to push back against your manager? Do you need to reorganize your workplace? Do you have meetings that are, for instance, like taking a break for lunch is very healthy. Like block your time at lunch, rest, eat with your family and friends. Take like an hour, make yourself some lunch. I see a lot of people that take out like a sandwich and eat in front of their computer. That's usually a sign that the burnout is close. But I'll repeat again, like if you feel overwhelmed and you need like support, don't hesitate to message me, reach out. We can work something out together. So do you remember this chart I showed you earlier about the three zone: frustration zone and boring? It's actually a bit more complex than that. It's a bit more blurry because you want those blurry boundaries to be like the zone where you can explore. So, for instance, if you get something hard or challenging, it is okay, to stay there a little bit just to know what you don't know. It's like be, encountering new challenges, experiencing new things, and then going back into a relaxing zone where you can just like relax and rest and be like, okay, I've learned new things. It was a big project. I finished this project. I want to be in the relaxing part. Yes, boring things should be automated. Absolutely. Another thing, as a manager, you want to allocate the task to the right person because, for instance, some things might be boring to you, but it might be a challenge for someone junior. And I see often in teams that manager will give all the hard tasks to the senior person and all the easy tasks to the junior. But you want to shuffle things a bit so that the senior person take a break every now and then and have easy fun tasks to do and feel like a superhero. It's kind of like in a video game when you loot this like amazing weapon and then you only fight enemies that are as strong as the new weapon, so it's useless. So sometimes you want to go back into the earlier zones and just smash easy monsters just to feel the power. Feels kind of the same thing as a senior engineer. Sometimes you want easy tasks. And as a junior person, sometimes, you know, give them one or two like tasks that you will give to a senior person otherwise, and see, you know, challenge them. And so that helps, you know, like mitigate the burnout for and the boredom to everyone. But I totally agree. Like the more things you can automate, the less work everybody has, and it's makes more time for creative things, for learning, for having more prototype and new features and new I don't know, hackathon stuff like that. And so this is about this loop, but kind of like in another dimension if we flip it around. So at first you want to go in the challenging zone and be like, oh, that's a new project. Like, what's interesting there? What can I learn? Then you're like, oh my God, I love it. You know, it's like you're focused, you're starting to learn things. It's amazing. And then you're like, oh, okay, this project is finished. It was awesome. You know, I've learned new things. I was able to, I don't know, like increase this metric by 10x, to reduce the cost by 10x, and you feel awesome. But you know, if those projects usually last for like a month or 2 months or like a quarter, and at the end, you know, you want to transition period. You don't want to jump right back into another crazy project. So you want to jump into like the relaxation zone and be like, okay, cool. Now we're gonna take a recharge the batteries, relax a bit, maybe go and fix up technical debts, do some refactoring. You know, like kind of like a transition period. It's kind of like the interlude, you know, between two Marvel movies. You know, you don't want to do like a full-on weekend with Marvel movies one after another. It's too intense. You want like a little break in between. And so the loop we saw earlier is kind of like the same thing here, where you like you go into the challenge, you go into the relaxation, you go into the zone, and you kind of alternate. So I would ask again, you know, like in what zone you are today. Earlier, I saw some people being in the frustration zone. I saw some people feeling like overwhelmed. So it feels like everybody is kind of like in the frustration zone. So your health and happiness is first. You remember like in the plane when they say like put your oxygen mask on yourself first? It's kind of like that here. It's like you can't, you know, be productive, be happy, and help others and contribute to big project if you're not healthy and happy at work. You know, work takes a lot of place in our time. It's several hours per day. It's the majority of the hours awake we spend them at work. So we want to be in a good, healthy place where we can enjoy what we're doing. So word your concern, word your if you are overworked, talk to your manager, and you know if your manager is not responsive, find like I mean find a new job. You know, this talk is hosted by Signify, so tell them they're gonna find you a job. How to reduce that 25 minutes that are needed to get in the zone. You said about regrouping meeting, maybe something else. So what I do for myself, so if you look into why those 25 minutes are usually for me, so one thing is to group all the meetings so you don't have those 25-minute gaps, and so you have more consecutive time. So you have the 25-minute offset, you know, and then the rest of the time is focused. For me, the 25 minutes are spent putting back the information in, you know, my RAM. You know, it's like I said, we're not computers, but I feel like the brain kind of works like a computer. You want to put everything into like live memory so you can go back to work. So what I do is that when I get interrupted or I know a meeting is coming, I left myself some to-dos and like notes into the code. You know, the code is not committed. It's like this broken thing I'm working on. I left myself some comments and notes so that when I come back after the meeting, I'm like, oh yes, I was in the middle of doing this. That's the next thing that needs to be done. Boom, you know? Sometimes what I do too is that if someone interrupt me and I was in the middle of doing some refactoring maybe, and something is half finished, I write some gibberish. And so the compiler will scream at me next time and be like, hey, something is wrong here. And I'm like, oh yes, something is wrong because I didn't finish this part when I got interrupted earlier. And that kind of like reduces 25 minutes because the harvest of information is faster because you left yourself information about it. So does that help, Alex? Yeah, to do the notes. And even if you're like a, you know, I don't even own a pen, but if you're like more handwriting type of person, I have like a post-it or like a notebook. You can take notes about what you're doing, but for me, I like just put it in the code. Yeah, you know, when I work, I just redid the website of Pure Lambda. It's out today, actually, if you want to check it out. And while I was doing that, I just left to-dos in the code. You know, I didn't use like a Jira or something because it was just me. But I just left to-dos in the code and was like, oh, I'm gonna work on this one right now. And that allowed me to dive back in much faster than I would otherwise. And so after these talks, do you feel different? Do you feel like a bit more hopeful or excited about going back to work? Do you feel like you're gonna be able to mitigate the things that were feeling frustrating to you early at the beginning of the talk? I asked you how you feeling. Has that changed for anyone? Maybe not. It might take more time. So just to summarize, I kind of like did this chart. Everybody told me it was ugly and I couldn't do a better one. So if it's ugly, tell me. I've already heard it. But so, you know, I was trying to make everything fit in one picture. I tried. I don't know if it's great, but you can see like the amount of time spent in the zone and what that will bring you to if you stay too long in this zone based on the complexity of the challenge that are based on your skills. So if it's the right challenge for you, you're in the zone, but if you stay too long, you burn out. If it's a bit harder than usual and you're in the learning phase, but if you stay longer, you're gonna burn out. If you are in the boredom zone for a little bit, it's gonna be relaxing, but otherwise it's gonna be boredom. If it's really, really easy, it's gonna be boring. If it's really, really hard, it's gonna be burnout. I mean, to me, it speaks. I don't know, maybe it's bad for everyone else. Maybe it's because I've done it. It's easier for me to read it, but I don't know. So remember, try to find the right challenges that fit your skills. Try to challenge yourself when you feel you have the energy for it. Try to find easy tasks when you feel overwhelmed, and try to alternate all of that. And thank you for your participation in the chat. And I hope everything has been useful to you today.